I view the gymnastics rings like a perfectly tailored suit. The rings adjust to your body like a tailor-made suit contours to it. I love training on the pull-up bars, on the dip bars, on the parallettes, but something about the rings is a little bit different, and it's become my favorite tool when it comes down to training calisthenics. My name is JD. I'm a 40-year-old hybrid athlete. I use calisthenics, weightlifting, and running as my primary modalities of training. Today, I'm going to take you guys through a gymnastics rings only training session. And we're also going to have a discussion about why all of us 40 and over need to be training on gymnastics rings. So another reason why the gymnastics rings are similar to a tailor-made suit is that it takes a little bit of time to adjust to the gymnastics rings. It takes a little bit of time to find the stability with the gymnastics rings. So I've only bought one tailor-made suit in my life, and that was when I took a trip out to Vietnam. I went to Vietnam and specifically went out there because I wanted to buy a tailor-made suit. I heard that they have really good tailors there. I heard that they had really good fabric there. But everybody who I talked to said, you got to stay out there at least a week because you're going to need to take at least 3 different measurements. So when I found the tailor shop that I wanted to get a suit at, I had to take some initial measurements. Then I had to come back in and they had to put what they had made of the suit on me and, kind of tighten some things up. And then I came back in and they did some final measurements before I could come back the following day and get a suit. And gymnastics rings, you kind of go through this same progression. Depending on your stability levels, the first time you get on some gymnastics rings, you can just get into a dip support hold on a gymnastics rings. If you've never touched them before, you're probably going to get on the rings and start shaking because you've never had to stabilize your upper body like this before. Then once you found that stability on the gymnastics rings, then you have to start trying to build strength on the gymnastics rings. So you're combining stability with strength training. The gymnastics rings give you the perfect balance of challenging your stabilizer muscles while still allowing you to build a good amount of strength. The next step after you built that initial foundation of strength on the gymnastics rings is to start challenging yourself to more difficult movements. You can go from regular dips to dips with the ring turnout. You can go from regular push-ups on the dips to push-ups with the ring turnout. You can start off doing regular pull-ups on the rings and then progress to doing pull-ups with a false grip. Regular curls on the rings turn into pelican curls. Basically what I'm saying is that the rings have endless progressions. As you guys can see right here, I'm doing some ring handstand push-ups, and I've been doing handstand push-ups for years. I've been able to do 90-degree handstand push-ups, deep handstand push-ups, tiger bend handstand push-ups. And believe me when I tell you, when I first just tried to hold a handstand on the rings, I literally made a fool of myself. Legs flailing everywhere, falling over backwards, damn near injured myself. For somebody who'd been doing regular handstands and regular handstand push-ups for probably 7 years at the time, it took me months to even just be able to hold a handstand on the rings. And then more months after that to be able to do kind of a sloppy handstand push-up on the rings. I truly do view myself as a beginner on the rings, and it shows when it comes down to me trying to do movements like the one in the video right now where I'm doing a back roll. I'm doing these back rolls with the help of resistance bands, and I've come a long way with this movement. And even though I haven't done an unassisted back roll yet, I can see myself unlocking that movement in the next training session or 2. So as I've mentioned in other videos, I'm a personal trainer. That's what I do for a living. And the first thing that I tell a prospective client, or the first thing that I tell somebody when it comes down to a consultation, either in person or online, is that the first thing that we need to establish is stability. When it comes down to my clients who want to build up leg strength, the first thing people think about is getting underneath a barbell to squat. But before anybody has been granted the freedom to get underneath a barbell and squat, you need to build up single leg stability, doing things like Bulgarian split squats, doing things like step ups, lateral lunges. The same thing can be said for anybody who wants to get under a barbell and bench press, or somebody who wants to use weights to do shoulder presses. I'm a firm believer in building up that stability first, and a great way to build up stability is through gymnastics rings. I've got a couple freakishly strong clients that I train in person, both younger dudes. One of them is about 28 years old, and I think the other one's about 26. One of them is a beast on the bench press. The dude can bench press probably, actually today we did 315 for a double. And the other dude is a beast when it comes down to his squats and when it comes down to his deadlifts. And although both of these guys are genetically gifted when it comes down to strength, and they probably had some raw strength when we first started training together, it took a little bit of time for me to find that out because we had to build up our stability. You know, when I first saw these guys bench press with dumbbells or do squats with kettlebells, they seemed to struggle a little bit, and it's because they really didn't have those stabilizer muscles developed. For the guy who bench pressed a lot, one of the things we started working on is ring dips and ring push-ups. This helped his bench press tremendously. For my other powerlifting client, although he's not as strong in the bench press, he's pretty strong as well. And we worked on a lot of ring dips, a lot of ring push-ups, and his bench press went through the roof as well. When it came down to the lower body movements, we worked on a lot of single leg movements, and that helped him out as well. But when it comes down to the demographic of 40 and above, we need to think about stability. We need to think about body control, and we need to think about proprioception for more reasons than just gym performance. You know, it's funny, there was a gentleman in the comment section of a previous video, and I believe he was in his 80s, and he was listing all these issues that he was having that was preventing him from getting good workouts in. And if you guys don't know, my father's 88 years old, and he is at a point in his life where stability is super important. Stability is the difference between him being able to be mobile and have freedom, or him to be in a sedentary state where he's not really able to move around and not really able to do things for himself. So one of the things that I do is I have my dad run through kind of a simple calisthenics routine, just all body weight stuff that's regressed for somebody around his age. And, you know, I'll actually make a video about this at another time. But I'm saying this because once we get to our 40s, we have to start thinking about our life as this is kind of the midway point, if we're lucky. So with that being said, we have to start prioritizing things like stability and really being able to control our body. Another thing that we have to keep in mind is we need to work out with equipment that works for us. I've been doing calisthenics for about 9 years now, and when I first started out, I basically only trained on the bars. I always have kind of owned a pair of gymnastics rings, and you know, I do a few exercises here and there, but you know, as I've gotten deeper into the game of calisthenics, and as I moved from my early 30s to my mid 30s to my late 30s, and now I'm in my 40s and I'm gonna be 41 in a month, you start noticing that your joints respond differently as you increase in age. And one movement in particular that I've noticed is much more comfortable while doing it on the gymnastics rings versus doing it on the bar is muscle ups. Now, when it comes down to doing muscle ups or doing any calisthenics movement on a fixed surface, meaning that the piece of equipment that you're doing the muscle up or maybe the dips on or the pull-ups on doesn't move, that means your joints can only work through that movement in one way. So no matter the body type of a person, no matter the difference in somebody's frame, everybody's going to have to go over that piece of equipment. In a lot of cases, it's a pull-up or dip bar in the same fashion. This is why I view the rings like a tailor-made suit. Everybody can jump on the gymnastics rings, and everybody's body's going to move differently on the rings. It's going to be tailored and it's going to be curated just for your body, just for your joints. And this is something that we have to take into consideration as we get into our 40s, get into our 50s, get into our 60s. Not only are we working on our stabilizer muscles, not only are we challenging ourselves with a more difficult piece of equipment, but we're also using a piece of equipment that is more than likely going to be safer and going to help us prevent injuries. Now, am I saying that you can't get injured using the gymnastics rings? No, I'm not saying that you can't get injured using the gymnastics rings. As a matter of fact, if you try to progress too fast on the gymnastics rings, you can probably get injured faster than you can get injured on a regular pull-up bar or on a dip bar. The gymnastics rings are a much more difficult, unstable way to train. So we're going to have to progress much more slowly using the gymnastics rings. But the good thing about calisthenics and the good thing about calisthenics athletes in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond is that, hopefully we've gotten a bit wiser. Hopefully we've gotten a bit patient, and we're not so pressed to progress at a super fast pace. Taking a slow route is truly the only route. Every time we try to take the fast route, we actually end up taking the long route. You have to think about it in terms of trying to skip progressions, trying to fast track yourself to a skill is not going to do anything but get yourself injured. And, after you recover from that injury and finally achieve that movement, you probably ended up taking much longer than you would have if you would have went through every proper progression. Trust me, I've done this before. I've been hard-headed, I've trained with ego, and I've gotten myself injured. But I've learned over the years that, it's better just to take things slow, and there's no rush to calisthenics. The main thing is that we're all moving through our progressions, and we're all gaining skill, and we're all getting stronger at our own pace. This is just a side note, but another thing I love about training with the gymnastics rings is that they're so versatile and they're so mobile. You can train pretty much anywhere. You can train at a gym. You can train at a basketball court, just like you see here. And I'm actually taking little breaks in between sets to shoot around. You can train at a calisthenics park. You can hook the gymnastics rings up on a tree someplace. You can hook the gymnastics rings up at a pull-up bar at your house. I do it all the time. If I could only train with one piece of equipment, it would definitely be gymnastics rings. Now, if you guys are just getting started on your gymnastics rings journey, or if you guys are interested in starting a gymnastics rings journey and you'd like some assistance and somebody to help guide you through the progressions, go ahead and go to my website, hybridathlete40.com. Take the assessment. We can set up a consultation. I can either recommend you guys a program, or if you guys are a good fit, we can do one-on-one coaching. Now, I recommend gymnastics rings for everybody. You don't have to be a calisthenics athlete in your 40s. You could be a teenager, you can be in your 20s, you can be in your 30s. Gymnastics rings are great for everybody. I think it's the perfect way to challenge yourself, especially if you've already built a foundation on the bars. And if you guys currently train with gymnastics rings, let us know in the comment section how many months, how many years you guys have been training on the rings, and maybe some movements that you've been able to master on the gymnastics rings. Also, guys, if there's any topics that you guys would like me to cover on this channel, please go ahead and leave that in the comment section. I'll make that video for you as soon as possible. Somebody in a recent video left a comment asking how many days per week somebody 40 and over should be training, and I'm going to make a video on that next. If you guys have gotten some value from this video, go ahead and like the video, share the video with somebody else that you might think might find some value in the video. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure that you guys go ahead and subscribe. Love to have you join the community. We're almost to 20,000 subscribers. That's a huge milestone for me, and I'd love to have you guys join the community. Hope everybody's having a great day out there. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.